Hi. Okay, this is part 5 of a culture of breaking generational curses. What's very interesting, if you look at ancient history, now my references that I'm going to allude to here are from Europe, so please forgive me for not having African references, okay? But I'm going to be honest with you, and I know some people don't like it when I say this, but I see myself as a human being first and foremost. But even before being a human being, I see myself as a soul, a spirit, okay, who's on this planet having a human experience. So I identify with my spirit before anything else. That's why I do me the way I see fit to do me, obviously with the intention of spreading love and truth on the planet and being good to my fellow human beings and to the fellow earthlings, like the animals and plants that I share this planet with, and being good to the planet and being good to the unseen realm, being good to my creator. Okay. So I just take my references where I get them, as long as they resonate with me on a level of truth. But I will try and find more African references, because I do believe that the reason why I came here in an African body and as a woman in South Africa is to be of service to the people in this particular region of the planet. Okay, so I will try to be more culturally specific, but I'm just reflecting on my educational background and where I come from. Okay, so if you look at the War of the Titans in Greek mythology, okay, you get a clue as to the genesis of these destructive cultural norms being established on the planet. Similarly, if you look at the Nordic mythology, right, and also the Irish mythology, okay, but if you look at the Nordic mythology, I think there's a very interesting clue, because there's something called Ragnarok, which is similar to the War of the Titans in Greek mythology, but in Ragnarok, it's essentially the primordial forces that win. Whereas in the Greek mythology, in the War of the Titans, it's the Olympians, who are also essentially Titans, because they're the children of the Titans, they're Titans, right? But they win, the gods win over the Titans, and then they rule. And then you've got Prometheus, who steals knowledge from the gods to give to humans, therefore undermining the control of the gods over the human beings. In Ragnarok, Loki's son, who is a wolf, kills Odin and undermines the rule of the gods. And what it harkens to is that the primordial forces, which were subdued in the War of the Titans, come back to be the norm on planet Earth. And it's like when you go into ancient Babylon in the story of Tiamat and how she's undermined by her children. It sounds similar. Or if you look at the story of Lemuria and Atlantis, where the Atlanteans basically undermined and superseded the Lemurians. In all cases, right, whether it's the Titans or it's whichever primordial entities Loki represents, because mythologizing is not immune to the tampering with by the beneficiaries of these destructive cultural norms, okay? For example, in Greek mythology, Eros, right, who's the primordial force of sensuality and sensual expression in a sexual way. Initially, he's a primordial force, but then he's later made the child of Aphrodite, who's the goddess of love. Okay. Why? Why is that? Because now they're trying to capture this force, which is represented by your orange sacral chakra. Okay. They're trying to confine it in a way, and yet it's primordial. Okay, fine. These primordial forces, like Tiamat in the Babylonian, Sumerian stories is the earth herself, is Mother Nature herself, right? So I made a video where I talked about the need to mythologize as a way of using our imagination to make sense of the world, right? And then I talked about how the There was a time when the earth allowed all sorts of souls to come and live on her so that they could like learn what they needed to learn for their souls, for themselves to evolve spiritually, right? The souls, because they had been basically expelled from all the different worlds and realms that they were on, because they were not evolving in line with the objectives of the planets that they were on. Like the planets were like, oh, you're not up to scratch, please leave. So they were barred entry. And it's very interesting because in the Vedic scriptures, Swami Prabhupada talks about this. He elucidates on this. He says, so he was saying that there was no moon landing, right? Because he said the moon landing, the moon is a realm. It's got its own rules and regulations. He says, just like I can't come from India to America without a visa and a passport, you can't just go to the moon. You need permission, right? So similarly, there are criteria you have to reach to be on certain realms, certain planets. And I guess, certain planets, certain galaxies, because they're attaining higher levels of consciousness. Maybe they're in the fourth dimension. If your soul is only resonating on the third dimension, you're not going to be compatible. They don't want you there because you're going to lower the vibration and cause stress to them. They've got things they're trying to do with their consciousness evolution and the use of that realm as a place for souls to reach high levels of consciousness. Now, if you come with your low level of consciousness, you're killing the vibe. It's like the saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. You're the weak link, you're not needed, please go away, right? So the earth, Tiamat, in her kindness, said, any soul that needs a home can come here, and I will help you evolve. That's how loving she is. That's how loving she is. Okay, that's how compassionate and exceedingly patient that she is. Okay, she's the ultimate mother. All right. So all these souls come and it's like, yay, we have a home and we're just kind of gonna chill and figure it out at our leisure. And she was like, take your time, no stress. But then she has children, and her children are like, Mom, what is the deal with these beings you've allowed here? My gosh, look at the low frequency of their spiritual vibration. What? And because they're the children of Tiamat, she's a primordial goddess, right? Or the Titaness, right? And her children are like, no, we don't agree. Please do something about this. Expel them. And she's like, where are they going to go? They need to be here. So her children then decide, okay, let's try speed up the evolution of these creatures by educating them. So I think they recruited help from like other beings from other planets. This is where Lemuria comes in. So it was like a very nurturing environment still, you know, like teaching them how to raise their consciousness by connecting to the earth and learning the wisdom of the earth. Sort of like Buddhism type of vibe, you know. But then something happened. Okay. And a consciousness began to permeate the children of Tiamat to make them believe that these beings needed to be controlled to make them useful. And this is where it started. So her children fought against her and subdued her. And this war against Tiamat is very much reminiscent of the war of the Titans and the gods of Olympus. Okay. And then Prometheus. So now this control mechanism that is now imposed on these beings, which is us, humans, basically, the dwellers of the earth. This control that's imposed on us, it's sort of like, it numbs our consciousness to what our souls are actually on this planet to do, with the permission of the planet. You know what I'm saying? And makes us easily controllable by these beings who've decided that they know what's better for us than we know for ourselves and what Mother Earth knows for us. Okay. But then Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to human beings so that human beings can remember what they actually are.